as always, welcome to the Your Desired Success Foundation Mastermind. We are driven by the pay it forward rule, which is around the golden rule of do unto others as you would have done unto you. So let's see if, there we go. And when we're talking around the power of the mastermind, I always refer to Napoleon Hill, especially a lot of people around the world know him for his book, Think and Grow Rich. But there's some other great books, and we were blessed to have Patricia on as well, who's read Think and Grow Rich 11 times. So I'm pretty confident Patricia could really quote it word for word. So as I go through this around the principle of the mastermind, Napoleon said, it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in more than you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely on your own efforts for success. So we've each got our own numbers. So Tony, if you'd like to start us off.
The purpose of the mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
Patricia?
I just got to unmute myself here. So we are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces. One mind, one soul, one love.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for setting the foundation of the call there. So, as I said, I've got a topic that just came to me probably about half an hour before we jumped on the call. And it's really interesting with the group that we've got here. And let me know if my internet's a bit unstable because I'm at the farm, so it's not the best out here. I just got a notification then. But is there anything in particular anybody
You're freezing a bit, Martin.
Am I? I'm freezing.
Yeah, just a picture, but your voice is coming through all right.
Okay, cool. So I better make sure I'm always smiling so I don't freeze with a strange face. So the
Too late.
I'm laughing.
I'm just going to stay like this. So, yeah, is there anything going on in anybody's life that they'd like to mastermind? Because we've got a lot of value in regards to people who've invested a lot of time in their own personal growth, life experience here as well. Otherwise, we'll roll with the topic that was created. Is there anything anybody would like to cover?
I can share a couple of things from the call the other night if you want, or I can leave that till the end. I don't mind. I was on the late night call with Mark, but I can leave that till the next.
Well,
session
I know Maya and Patricia are. Or do you want me to call you Napoleana, Patricia?
You can call me Patricia.
So I don't mind. I mean, Maya and Patricia are both Free Noble Goldman members, but I don't mind if it's of value or if there's anything in particular. Because my topic today, I'll give you a clue. My topic today was going to be your education, and this was going to be tied in with Think and Grow Rich. So I'm happy for anything.
Let's go with that. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And this is definitely going to be interesting from the angle of with what Patricia was saying earlier around reading Think and Grow Rich 11 times. I'm going to keep bringing that up because how many times, Patricia, is it said that, I know the answer because of our chat that we had a while back, how many times is it said that everything is supposed to come together after reading the Think and Grow Rich so many times? How many times is it?
12 times, I think, is the magic number. And I'm waiting. I've created a new group. And so I read it live, Tony, with my other co-partners who are still continuing on and taking on the legacy in the old group. And my 12th time will be in my new space. So I'm going to go with the number 12. Am I right?
Well, that's what you said to me. And what was interesting,
Yeah.
Patricia, it was when we spoke the first time when we had a really good call with each other, you said that you had got to 11, I think, and there's so many barriers happening for you reading it again. So many things just didn't come together. Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to share that somebody shared with me. So the power of writing down your desire statement. So first, like, there's 6 steps to writing our desire statement, right? So writing my desire statement down, right? Reading it twice a day. But the one key thing that I was missing was writing my desire statement. So after I started writing the desire statement within the last, I'd say over a month now, it's been about a couple of months, things really started to manifest into what I've been wanting, but maybe it's just not coming. It just seems to all be coming at one time.
Yeah. And do you feel that that's been based on where you needed to be as well at that time in your life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's now, instead of it being in a way drip fed to you, you're now in such a strong place that it's just coming in abundance.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like it's coming around, like, it'll come full circle for the people who have been, in my past masterminds and stuff, right? Because we always, we might move on from something, but we're still all connected and still, like, positive, right? So I feel like everybody is in growth mode, if that makes sense, but just maybe different levels of growth mode, but something I can feel is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Because you've actually worked in particular with some, is it Don Green, the CEO of Napoleon Hill
Yeah.
Foundation?
So, yeah, I'll give you the story with Don Green. And so Gordon was one of my mentors, and he was interviewing Don Green, right? And I didn't really know a whole lot about the Napoleon Hill Foundation and different things, but after that, or before that, anyways, Don Green and I became friends on Facebook, and I posted a picture of the Think and Grow Rich that I'd been reading in the group. Gordon challenged us to read it 12 times, or not 12 times. He just challenged us to read it. It just ended up being 11 times. I'm saying 12 because I said I'm going to keep going with this. But so I posted a picture of the book, and Dawn reached out to me and said, "Patricia, you're reading the wrong book." And I'm like, oh, well, what do you mean? And he said, "Send me your address." I said, okay. So he sent me a gift. And he sent me 3 copies of Think and Grow Rich, the original version. And he told me how to spot that something's been, created by the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and it goes back to them. So then I started researching, well, what is the Napoleon Hill Foundation? What does that stand for? How does, purchasing from the Napoleon Hill Foundation benefit? And anyway, so that was just my research stuff, Napoleona, I guess, in me. And yeah, and so we've been connected, and he sent me another book called Positive Thinking. And it's over, I think 10 chapters, and you focus on each task like for 10 days. So that's kind of what I'm into now again, doing the positive thinking. And in that, he just said that he supports me in whatever I do with the 1937 through podcasts or other means. So I'm committed to reading it the 13th time live, though I'm dyslexic and not great at reading. But anyways, I'm going to give her with, I hope, 3 other people or whatever, whoever comes on, I guess, and does it with me. Yeah. Martin thing.
That's cool. That's really cool. And isn't it interesting how I picked up there around Don Green and your maiden name being Green?
Yeah, so I had reached out to, when we originally started becoming friends and talking, I was friends with Mike Green. And Mike Green's also gone to the Napoleon Hill Foundation too, and he's done, I want to see say positive attitude, PMA, so positive mental attitude. And so I joked with Dawn, and I said, I had 106 grandchildren. My grandmother did. I was her 106. And when I was 3, so I said, well, maybe we're related or something. But anyways, we're not related, but we probably are somewhere. I think all of us in the universe are somehow related somehow, I guess. And
Unless
so
you're a
anyways,
United fan, you're not related to any of them.
yeah, no, that's just rumors. It's rumors, all rumors. I swear, I promise. Fingers crossed. I promise. I'm kidding. I don't know. No, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I as I was saying when we had that chat, it was just amazing. It was, and what was really great for me was I was really expanding around Napoleon's work and Think and Grow Rich in particular, and then into Outwitting the Devil, and then you came into my life, and you came in with such a strong presence, and I met Patricia through the Think and Grow Rich group, mastermind group, and it was as if I just needed Patricia. This is how I felt, to really solidify that belief in this is where I need to be, even though I've been a big fan of Bob Proctor for a long time, and Bob's always talking about Think and Grow Rich and basically gives a lot of time and energy towards Napoleon's work. It was, for me, it was just the thing that needed to go there. But one of the things that was coming up for me when you were saying around you've read it a lot, 11 times so far, was that do you find that you fly through it, or are you actually being present and absorbing it? Because 11 times is a lot.
Yeah. So I think, what I started doing, right? And as you read it, each time you read it, right? And when I have ADHD, right? So usually I need somebody else to read something to me or something. So I would go back. So I would say 4 or 5 times in, my co-partner would read, like, say, the whole chapter, right? So then I could go back and listen to my co-partner and really take more information than just me sitting and reading it myself. And after, I think, 4 times, we started, putting together, our own way of how we would do our desire statement, like workbook wise. So I'm still working on perfecting, like, my part of my vision going forward, and how I process being able to reach my desires, if that makes sense, or my desire statement.
Is there anything coming up for Tony or Maya with regards to what Patricia's saying?
Yeah, I would just add that I read Think and Grow Rich. It was one of the first books I read, I think, when I got into the personal development realm. I'd been reading books since I was about 18, but more management type books. I was into, as a young trainee manager, I got on the track of reading books about how people had turned companies around and how the leadership level that they'd exhibited and the traits that they had and that kind of thing. So it was only probably when I was, what would I have been now? Probably about late 20s, that I came across Think and Grow Rich. And it was because at the time I got involved with an MLM, and that was, well, predominantly a personal development program, then with a series of products attached. And it started off, they got you on a book of the month program and a tape of the week, audio tape. This is how old I am, audio tapes. And that really, after I got into that routine of reading a book a month, that really kicked me along in terms of a thirst for personal development. And what I found was that nearly every great book that's written in terms of positive attitude or motivation or inspiration, you check if there's an index in the back or a bibliography, almost all of them mention Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. He's like the founding father, if you like, of that sort of positive mindset and goal setting and affirmations and so on. And a lot of them quote him. That's been my experience. So, you know, although I haven't read the book that many times as Patricia, I know I've read it a few times. I couldn't honestly tell you how many times I've read it. And I've listened to the audiobook as well a few times. But what I do when I read these sorts of books is I highlight sections. I've never been afraid of some people, oh, you can't do that. That's, you know, destroying the book. Well, no, that's my book, and I'm going to be the one who's going to go back and reread sections of it. So I found, yeah, absolutely. And I've even now come up with a 2-color system.
Wait till you reach the 5-color system, Tony. That's just for studying. I haven't marked Napoleon Hills up with 5 colors yet. And I have written in my autographed copy from Don Green. I don't know if he'd roll over or anything, but I feel like this is totally mine. I know it's autographed and stuff, but it's only mine, right? So yeah. But in college, I had a 5. So it was pink, yellow, blue, orange, and green were the colors. But yeah, I'll send you a picture of my Napoleon Hill book. But yeah, I can get you with 2 colors.
Yeah, well, it's just so that the really golden gem moments, you know, the gold nugget statements that stand out for me, that I highlight them in a different color again. So yeah, it means I can go back to it, and I can, to take Martin's point, I can kind of pick through and go to the key points, and it speeds up my reading much faster. So I can revisit that book, you know, without having to read all the waffle around it, if you like.
With that, some great points brought up there, Tony. With that, then, Patricia, based on the fact that a lot of the books that people can buy today, and hey, Kelly, good to see you.
Hi, Kelly.
We're actually we're just diving in a bit deeper around Think and Grow Rich, and Patricia, who is on here, is Napoleon Green, an alias, has read the book 11 times. So before we got to the topic, we're just elaborating a little bit around this. But one of the things that I remember hearing from, I think I'm pretty confident it was actually Jim Rohn who said that Napoleon was weird. He was very strange. And
the best people are.
Oh, absolutely we are. And he said that if you read in the book, you need to be aware of certain areas of it because it gets really weird. And with me diving a lot deeper into frequency and energy, the universe, that was what I was hearing was the weird stuff. But I'm like, well, I want to hear more of that because that to me is the actual real, not weird, the real stuff. And I know where it can distract people and people go, oh, this is just not where I want to be. So I know a lot of the newer versions, they cut that out. And I believe, I mean, mine says the original 1937 unedited edition from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So I know that's what I was searching for, to make sure that I got that, what I would call that gold. Because without it, I feel I'm missing out on the key areas, in my opinion. Based on what I've been learning, especially with Beth and I, we just did last weekend, I think it was, or the weekend before, I can't remember, a 2.5-day self-worth program. And everything that this guy teaches is all around the 12 universal laws. And he's like, that's all you need to know. You're playing the game of life. You just need to know the 12 universal laws. And if you're playing by them, you'll win. So it's interesting that when I'm going through this, just how much is coming up for me. And even when I stick on the people who are associated with Think and Grow Rich, like Bob Proctor, and I know you're a huge fan of Bob Meyer. I had an audio on the other day. I can't remember which one I was listening to, but straight away it was coming up with the universal laws. And it was exactly what I was like looking at that moment, like the law of compensation that he was talking around. And just, I'm like, this is not coincidence. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence. Everything's perfect. But I'm like, this is, because my frequency, my energetic, I'm a transmitter and receiver. I'm just absorbing this information as well as putting it out there, and it's all coming through. So, and I really feel that today, with regards to the topic I wanted to touch on, with you being on, Patricia, because I know how busy you always are, especially with the growth, and I've seen that through Facebook a lot, the growth that you're having, which is just so magnificent to see. The topic was, as I said, around your education, and it came about because there was a question asked somewhere, and it was saying around what are you studying, and it was all around college and university. And it made me think around our attachment to education based on the education system, and with us going through Outwitting the Devil as well, how the conversation Napoleon had with the devil, his other side, was very much about the educational system is designed to suppress us, really, our true potential. So my question around that I had that was coming up straight away was, what does an educated person mean to you? So when you think of somebody when you think of an educated person, and Patricia, just you hold back, because I've got a feeling I know where you're going to go with yours. But before Think and Grow Rich, what would you have said, any of you, an educated person would be to you? Yep, go for it, Kelly.
Okay. I'm not very educated, but an educated person to me is someone that's gone to university and I have not. Hence, I've put myself in that basket. But I now know that an educated person is someone connected to their heart.
Beautiful.
And that connection is to the full potential of the universe, full abundance, full support. So I now know the difference.
Yeah. And how's that made you feel?
I could say the word liberated, but I'm still liberating.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm still liberating because I'm still only just diving into all of that, but I know the difference now. So yes, liberated.
Yeah.
Liberated, but at home in me.
Yeah.
Where the source of connection really is. And now all I've got to do is change my mindset a bit. And because heart-centered people don't need a mindset, I just got to get rid of the old paradigm in the mindset chatter. Yeah. So I'm loving what you're teaching, because you definitely are teaching the thing I'm needing.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you with us, and it's a collective group of us just sharing. And I mean, I could talk all day, but it's a bit boring talking on your own. So I learn from everyone else. So yeah, I love that liberating. Yeah.
Yeah. And the talking on your own is what I did all my life. So why would I want to go back to that? It's time to participate.
Yeah.
And I can't do that unless we've got connection together somewhere, whether it's live on Facebook, in a Skype, even if it's by myself at home, but with you. And I can't do that unless I'm in my heart. So heart's the key.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
I'm trying to give the ladies a chance to speak here, otherwise I can go on a bit.
So I guess previous to Napoleon Hill, but really previous to me being kind of connected with Bob Proctor, being a consultant and all that, education was, degrees, right? Plaques on walls that said that you could calculate this, the square root of something, or you could figure out the mass of the sun, something like that. When it's, knowing what I know now, the gap between, what we do or what we know and what we do. Like, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have if you're not an effective person. So you have all the knowledge, that you've built, but you're not effective. And I think the quote that the lesson that I'm on in the program right now is actually on the knowing doing gap. And the quote is, I think it's, education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. And I think that was so transformational for me to read every day for the last how long I've been reading it, to just think about the beliefs and perceptions that we have and how they're very much skewed. But yeah, it's pretty much my 2 cents.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome, Maya. Can I just confirm, what did you say education was?
I think it's education. What I was saying, or the quote that I was quoting?
Yeah, the quote, yeah.
The quote is, education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. Because I think they're playing on the definition of education, or like the root word to educe, to draw out, or something like that, to bring out. Like the cup's already full. You go to school and they take the children and they keep putting more information in as if they're an empty cup, right? But the cup's already full. You just have to draw it out and teach them how to use that effectively. So yeah, that's kind of the mindset that I've shifted to. And we were speaking last week about values, and that was a part of I guess a piece of what I was studying last week as well. It popped up after our mastermind call. I kept seeing values everywhere. Values, evaluate, values. I'm like, here we are, right? And when we were on our call, I reevaluated reevaluated my beliefs, and I had my values as community, money, faith, peace, and education. And that education piece is just so important to me, in the impact or legacy that I'm going to leave, because I feel like we are, the schooling versus education. And I feel like schooling is just the precedent and what we've been going with, but it's not, effective, right? We all are 99% or 90% of us are on autopilot, right? With degrees of doing monotonous things and not really living to our fullest, because we don't, we just gather more information and didn't draw out what we already had. So it's very important to me. It's one of my values now. But yeah.
Yeah, great share. That's mine. Patricia, before you read Think and Grow Rich, what would you have said education was? Or an educated person?
It would have been what Maya was saying, like the plaques on the wall and the certificates, the degrees, the awards, right? It would have been scholarships and top universities and things like that. That would have been I think, if I go back, like I have a great memory, but that's what I feel I would have thought back then before reading it, right? In the way that I was raised, in that, my mom went to grade 7, my dad went to grade 3. My dad didn't know the phone bill from the hydro bill, right? And some words my mom couldn't pronounce, I'd have to, read them. And I have dyslexia. That's the other thing of reading, is that when my dad was teaching me how to read, or my mom, my dad was making up the story as he went. So I wasn't connecting words with what you were saying, right, as being taught as a child. So that was a big thing to overcome. And so education, my parents were always like, oh, get an education, which meant the plaque on the wall, the degree, not just the street smarts, but the education, right? And so that's what I would have thought prior to reading this. Yeah.
Yeah. What's been the shift? What world do you believe now, rather?
Sorry, what do I believe like now?
Yeah, around an educated person.
I believe it's 10,000 hours, right? So my dad, though he wasn't educated, he only went to grade 3. I always share the story of my dad was a master builder. He was a carpenter. So, but he wasn't just one thing in carpenter, right? He could build a house from the ground up. So plumbing, electricity and stuff. Before all codes came in, he had to do all these tests to pass things. So I always tell the story that my dad, if anybody knows the Beverly Hillbillies, and on Buck Lake, the grandmother has a cottage right here or did. And so my dad did some of the stonework inside that house. So he was known for stonework and work. So, but 10,000 hours, right? My mom, was different, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah. Go ahead.
Is the saying something around that once you do 10,000 hours at something, you become the expert in that field or that area?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you become an expert in it, right? If you look at, like, I want to say my brother took hairdressing, right? So my mom, when my mom had money to pay for like my brother's education, my mom said, you have 2 choices. these are the two things that I will pay for. If you take anything else, then that's up to you to fund your own education. But her reasoning was hairdressing, because hair is going to keep growing, right? But we learned
Maybe
in
not.
COVID-19 that, she's like, yeah, hair is going to keep growing. People are going to need hairdressers, right? That's what's her thought on it. And mortimatician, because people are going to die and we need mortimaticians. So my brother picked hairdressing, but he needed 10,000 hours, right? He had to study underneath another hairdresser for so many hours, and then so many hours before he got fully licensed where he could, cut and color and treat people's hair, right?
It's interesting around that one, around the 10,000 times, because I instantly thought of Thomas Edison. And if anyone was going to know how to be an expert in making a light bulb, Thomas Edison would be able to say, I can tell you 9,999 ways of how not to do it. So,
Yeah.
somebody who can tell you how not to do it is definitely going to be an expert in how to do it.
Yeah, well, and it would save like a ton of time off of what you're learning, right? If you can go to Martin, so I always use Martin in that, you create great videos and great audios and things, right, to go with what we're creating within this network of people, right, individuals. In that, can you imagine if you could just tell me in like 5 minutes, or me spending like the 2 months or 5 months that it's taken you to figure out how to put those together and what programs you're using, right? So we're saving each other time, and then we evolve faster if we can mastermind and share, I think, like, better.
And that's one of the principles that's shared within, in fact, it's not the principles, it's the, bear with me a moment, I'm going to actually read it. It's from the mission statement. So from the Noble Goldman thing, it says, the mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time. So that's, like we were saying earlier, and like you said, Callie, and you just brought up them, Patricia, around us coming together and sharing that life experience and that business experience and just bringing it together. Well, this is what I found. And then we can sit there and be, if we're open, which I believe we are when we come on these calls, that you just learn some new things, and maybe there comes a time when we can implement that. I know with one of the, when I came out of my time of studying carpentry, well, it was a joinery. So my trade as such is actually in joinery. And I went then working for a building firm, and the boss, whenever I'm without sounding like I'm blowing on my own trumpet, but I evolved very quickly in that area. And I was viewed very highly by my boss at the time, and he would take me to jobs, and he just put me there and go, right, I'm going to leave you. This is what the end result is going to be. How are you going to do it? And I'd tell him exactly how I'm going to do it. And then he'd go, well, that's interesting, because I'd do it this way. But he'd always encourage me to go with my own way and not say, no, you're going to do it this way. So because he knew that if I was going to hit a brick wall, not literally, but a barrier, that I would have to figure out how to get over it. And it's only as I've, in a way, it's only as I've studied more around the mindset of things instead of the practicality, I've realized just what a gift he gave me back then, to allow me to just go out there, because there's many ways to get the same result. But at the same time, it's the way that we feel comfortable. But when we hit those barriers, well, how am I going to get around it? Because there is a solution to every problem. I've just got to find it. And that's one of the things that has driven me in particular in areas that when we go through around that burning desire, this is what I want to achieve and what I will achieve. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out. And when people say to me, how do you do a webinar? How do you do the Facebook group? How do you do the videos and stuff? And I'm like, I didn't know. I just did it. And it worked. I might have gone and watched the YouTube video. I remember when I created my YouTube channel, people said, how'd you do it? And I went to YouTube and I put in, how do I create a YouTube channel in 2020 or 2019? And I've literally watched this video and I've followed this person. And then I just started posting videos. And the other week, I think it was Tony had said, like the standard of my videos can be off-putting for a few people because I've set a standard, but that's my standard, but to me, it's still not as good as I want it to be. But to somebody else, it's amazing. And to somebody else, it's actually really poor. But the thing is that I wanted to post a video, and I had a standard where I wanted to make sure I was speaking and attracting people to see, hey, this guy provides good value, and I want to be aligned with him. It's not being disrespectful to anybody else that maybe hasn't gone to that level, but that's the thing that Beth, and I saw your hand come up, Callie, and I'll stop speaking in a moment, was that Beth and I were having a bit of a mastermind around a few things yesterday, and I said, what's important to me is that the way that I show up on my website, on Facebook, is the truest reflection of, if you get in a room with me or you get on the phone with me, it's exactly the same. I'm not trying to be somebody to try and sell something, and then behind the scenes, I'm not that person. That's authenticity is massively important. Callie.
Two things. Yes, that's why you got me here, because I've only seen you twice live on something or an ad, and I honestly just feel the purity of your authenticness. So it got me here. And I missed your last one, but I saw this one today and went, oh shit, no. Yeah, anyway. And I'm just wondering, hence why I was a bit late, because trying to find the link thing. Anyways, and work it out. I'm just wondering, in all of that, when you're doing a Facebook Live, where are you? I'm assuming you're in your heart when you're speaking, but if you checked in right now, I'm wondering, what does it feel like to be liberated? What's the feeling? I'm curious to know your feeling when you're doing them. What, like, even though you've got no, projection on any reason, you're just being pure. What's that feel like?
The thing that comes to mind is purpose, and what I mean by that is that there's a reason for me being here. There's a reason for me having a voice. There's a reason for this technology being available to share it. And I just feel the word's not coming to me right now, but
like, does it awaken something in particular in the core of your inner sanctum that has a quality that you could name, that I could tap into by you naming it?
Well, once again, I can only speak what's coming up for me at the time, and it's just love for others. I know what I share isn't for everybody, and that was a hard pill to swallow straight away, because I always wanted to help everybody, and I feel that's why I went through a lot of the bullying and that I did in the mining industry, and the depression and spiraling out of control. And when I've been very open and shared all around that on videos and so on, and I've said that, I felt no value to anybody. There was no point me being here. It was time to leave. The clear messages that I got were what gave me a sense of knowing that I am here for something absolutely incredible. And it's only based on what level of judgment I put on that level of incredibility. Now, some people would say what I'm doing right now is absolutely phenomenal. Me having the guts to speak up about what I went through is absolutely incredible. But for me, I feel like I'm just in flow. I'm just being present right now. There's times when I'm in my head and I do my best to be aware of that and pull myself out and get back heart centered. But when most of the times when I'm doing lives in particular, I'm in a space where I feel compelled to do it. It's not like, okay, at 1 o'clock I need to go live. It's, hey, I want to share this moment because I feel like I need to share this moment. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to say something. And there's a pair of ears out there.
What's the benefit for you personally? Like, what's the quality when you hang up and you have this feeling of doing your best? What is the quality like?
I just feel like I've been of service.
Yeah. What's it feel like that? Like, oh, I've got this real need to know your truth.
I'm trying to think of like the word that you.
Like, what's it feel like without a word?
I just feel fulfilled. I just feel like I've done good for others, but for self as well, because I've expressed self in my most authentic space in that moment.
Yeah, so fulfilled, complete, whole.
Yeah, I don't. I know that you just want to share something there, Patricia. I don't. I think it's. Maybe it's just me that I'm maybe I'm in my head right now, but I'm not actually. There's no desired outcome. I don't do, for instance, I don't do it for the accolades. I don't do it for the applause. I don't do it for people messaging me going, that was amazing. I do it because it feels right for me. And I feel that it needs to be shared for whatever reason, but I'm not attached to having a bigger following or.
So it's liberating you.
It's liberating me. Yeah. Patricia.
Thank you.
I wanted to say, like, when you were asking him that, Kelly, it's Kelly, right?
Yes.
Is that gratitude comes to mind, right? That I feel grateful when I hear Martin or other people within this network, share, because it's, there's, if you didn't follow your gut and share, right, that day, and not that you have to show up, but because you show up because you want to show up, or, maybe on the hardest times of, even showing up and giving the message, right? So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for, people like Martin and people who are coming out of their shell more and sharing those messages, right? Because as I'm strolling through my news feed, what I'm seeing more of is positivity and positive updates, right? And it just fills you up. Like, there's still a lot of other stuff, but it's gratitude. For me, it's gratitude when I hear Martin or other people sharing different things, especially during lives, right? Because you just get a feeling. Like, right now you can't see me because, Lily, I would be on camera, but Lily's sleeping in my bed and stuff too, so I'm not wanting to, show my face here. But, you just get it. You can sense your smile and your energy, and I love it when people do lives.
Well, I love that. I love that. It's like getting the real you, and it gives me permission to be the real me, witnessing you.
Yeah.
Tony, I see your hand come up.
Yeah, sorry, I was just writing. I'd like to just go back through some of the points. This has been a fantastic call, and everyone's contributed so much. And I just wanted to sort of pick one thing from each set that I've heard there, because there was so much to unpack. Going back to the original question that Martin asked, what does an educated person mean to you? And you've all come up with different definitions of it, and how that's evolved and changed over time with your exposure to the kind of stuff that we're sharing with each other as we go through. And so Kelly had the point that really we're all a work in progress. We are, none of us can think that we've got all the answers. And I love that definition between liberated and liberating. It is an ongoing journey. And you know, no matter when you think you've figured something out, there's always somebody else comes up with some other great gem or snippet or a different paradigm, and suddenly you've got a new perspective. And then we had Maya talking really about it's not so much what you know, it's also what you use, what you apply. You know, knowledge. There was a saying, I can't remember who said it now, that knowledge is no use unless it's applied, or unless it's actually made use of. So that was a key thing, and then operating in accordance with your values as well is a tremendous thing to bear in mind all the time. That should guide. That's your code of your values, as we talked about last week, your code of conduct for your behavior. And then Patricia was talking about it's the experience. So for those who might not have heard it, the 10,000 hours concept comes from Malcolm Gladwell's books, and he wrote The Tipping Point and then Outliers. And the premise was that, you know, to master anything, you need to have accumulated 10,000 hours of doing it. And it was one of the struggles I had when I was learning to be a coach, and I'd done some coaching courses, and I went and found somebody who was an experienced coach and had a coffee with him. And I was telling him about my kind of inner turmoil, that I didn't think perhaps I had enough experience. And then he said, hang on, what about your management career? Don't you think you would have coached people in your management career? And I was like, oh yeah, 20 years of management. I think I got my 10,000 hours up, you know, just the way I was looking at it. And he just gave me that slightly different perspective. So yeah, it is about, we get the runs on the board through experience. We can read all the books that we want, but we have to actually go and implement some of it. We have to fail. We have to be willing to fail and reflect and learn on the lessons from those things. And I love then Martin's share about the first boss, because that just screams out to me, find mentors, find people who will challenge your thinking, who will not just give you the information, but will ask you to come to them with. One of my philosophies as a manager, as a leader, was always to say to my staff, don't just come to me with a problem. Please do come to me with problems, but also try to come to me with a solution that you've thought through, and then we can discuss it, and then we can see if so that way you're encouraging people to think for themselves and to explore the possibilities for themselves. So that was a great share there, Martin. And Kelly's question, like a like a dog with a bone there, if you'll excuse me saying that, you know, the determination to get that, squeeze that feeling out of Martin, which is something you struggle to put into words, but it really was, for me, it sort of answered the question of a wise person, because I started out, I've evolved through those different stages where I thought it was education. You know, I went to an elitist school and I was told, you have to get this qualification, you have to prove that you know what you're doing. No, then I realized, no, you actually don't, because a lot of my mates went off to university and I went into the workforce as a trainee manager. And then I was learning from a couple of great mentors in the workplace, hands-on, and realized that I was learning a whole different way to the education system. But at the same time, I was still encouraged to pursue self-education and started reading more books and so on. So I realized that education, as it's sort of thrown at us from the education system, is not the be all and end all at all. You learn far more from the education that you choose to seek out as an adult than you do at any stage when you're just being, you know, spoon-fed the standard stuff. And I thought that what came to mind when I was hearing Martin's answer, when Cully was squeezing him so hard for that feeling, was self-awareness. And so that to me is a sign of the acquisition of wisdom, is when you can feel that you are self-aware and you are living in your own authenticity. You are living in alignment with what you truly want out of life and how you want to behave out of life, and gathering the experience that you want and accumulating the education and the wisdom that you want. And then summed up perfectly there with Patricia, it's gratitude too. I go back to the thing that where Kelly sort of started, is that there's an inherent tension between feeling I am enough, but I also want to learn more. So we should feel always that we're We are enough. We are living in if we're living in alignment with our values, we are enough. We can be in the moment, be in the now, and be the best version of ourselves that we can be with what we know at this moment. That doesn't mean you have to accept that that's all there is. You have to keep striving and learning new things and keeping an open mind to suck in the information and the wisdom that's out there available to you from everybody else around you. And when you're following the principles, as Patricia would tell you from reading the book over and over, when you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people who want the same kind of lifestyle, the same kind of authenticity that you're trying to operate from, then you're on the right path. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share.
That was amazing, Tony. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that, and just really being a very powerful example of listening to us all as well. Just that's
it's hard sometimes, you know. You got, I just want to shut up. Let them finish.
Absolutely, and I mean, I always take my notes for my 3 big takeaways, because there's just so much value that's shared throughout the calls. And you reminded me about going back to when I asked around the question of what does an educated person mean to you. For me, very much like Callie said, was in regard to, you know, an educated person, somebody goes to school, maybe finishes school, potentially then goes on to go to college or university, is then really taking it up there as an educated person. And I remember my best friend at the time who I grew up with, he mocked me and laughed at me because when I left school, I did go to college, but it was for a trade. So it was part-time college, part-time work. And he went for a degree and he mocked me and was like, oh, you're dumb and all that stuff. But not being mean, but it was just the way it was viewed from his side. And yet I came out and I ended up doing well and earning quite a lot of money based on what I was doing in my carpentry at the time in joinery, whereas he ended up stacking shelves in the supermarket, which is nothing wrong with that, but he had a degree and he's doing that. And he said, I wish I got a trade. I was so wrong. Because he couldn't get a job. He was too like highly skilled, or whatever they would call it, overeducated. And what was interesting was that I mean, you know the person, Tony, Catherine Hopkins, is it Hopkins? Yeah. So
she's
a lady,
she's married. Lynch, Catherine Lynch.
Yeah, she just got married. Yeah. So I met Tony at a networking group back in 2015, early 2015, and that was my first introduction to, in a way, masterminding. It was people in the business speaking up, and then some of them would present their business or their topic, whichever, and then we'd mastermind around how any of the challenges. And that was my first introduction to it. And I remember Catherine saying to me, because it was very much a family group. It wasn't a lot of people, but we all got together and we connected really well. Beautiful group. And Catherine said to me, I want you to read this book. And I had said to her, I haven't read a book since I've left school. So this was probably 20 years, something like that, since I'd left school. And the book was the Celestine Prophecy. And she said, it's literally, you're going to love it. It's literally your life. And I was like, but I haven't read a book. I don't read books. I prefer audio. She's like, read it. Just promise me you'll read a page a day. Well, I couldn't put this book down. I was 20 pages in on the first day. I was hooked. And I got through, for those of you who've read it, I got through, and without giving anything away, to the 8th insight. And then I could not pick it back up to finish the book. And Catherine said to me, so you finished the book? And I said, no. She went, really? You definitely look like you finished it. And I'm saying, can't get past the 8th insight. She's like, that's amazing. I definitely would have said, based on the way you're showing up, you've read the whole book. I said, no, but one of the things that came up to me when I read this book, or certainly up to the part where I've been at, was I was truly, and I'm going to use your words here, Callie, truly liberated by what Napoleon said about an educated person, because the books that I was told to read in school, I did not enjoy at all. And therefore, my connection to books was, books are no good. What's the point? I don't have any, I don't enjoy them, I don't connect to them. So my angle of an educated person is someone who's gone to college, university, got a degree, or so on. Well, when I read this, and it's highlighted, so when I read this, it said an educated, and I'm going to use person instead of man because we're a bit wrong in the world. An educated person is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is one who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they may acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. And when I read that, that empowered me or liberated me so much that I realized in that moment it had nothing to do with the educational system at school. And it had everything to do with what could I extract from me, the value I've got, the energy that I've got, the knowing, the inner knowing that I've got. So that really empowered me. And then the next sentence, which is really good, was that around Henry Ford comes well within the meaning of this definition. And in the book of Think and Grow Rich, and certainly on the audio that I've listened to countless times, when Napoleon mentions about Andrew Carnegie saying, go and meet Henry Ford, and Napoleon saying that when he searched for Henry Ford, when he eventually found him, the guy was in overalls and he had oil over him, and he shook his hand and he got oil on his collar of his shirt. And he says, I was asking Henry all these questions and all I was getting was yes and no answers. And he said that all that I could think was, how could Andrew Carnegie be so wrong about Henry Ford? And then he shuts up and he says, well, we know where that one went. And this is like it, all through this, when I was reading that section, I'm going, wow, it's staring me in the face. In fact, it's not even staring me, it's slapping me across the face that stop thinking and being conditioned by external factors. Everything that we need is within us, and it just needs to be brought out the right way is what I've become to understand about an educated person. And that shift in itself for me is in all fairness, where it kind of goes back to the questions you were asking earlier on, Callie, in regards to, and people have asked me this countless times, how do you do that? How do you do that? And it's like, I don't know, but it feels right. It feels like I need to do this. Nobody taught me how to do a webinar. Nobody taught me how to do video editing. It's all self-taught, but it feels right, so I just do it. And you could have a video editor to come along and go, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing it that way? I don't know. But you know what? I get a result at the end of it. And it's the result that I want. Yeah, teach me how to save a bit of time. But I still get the result. And I know that by me doing that and challenging myself, it's also something that is very close to me, is because delegating is something I've always been challenged with because of past experience when I was a team leader and I delegated and the people didn't do it and I got in trouble for management. I just decided to take on everything, but that isn't good for self. So, but the delegation side of it is that I don't expect anybody to do something that I wouldn't do, or that I don't have some level of understanding of what they're going to be going through. Because the people that go, why hasn't that been done yet? In many cases, they've never done it themselves and they don't understand what's involved. So there's, that's why for me, I challenge myself a lot and know that if the goal, the desire aligns with me and my heart, and I know it's where I want to be, that everything that I need to get me there will just come and happen, and I will evolve and grow through being open-minded and just being in flow. So hopefully that makes sense.
There's a book by, well, there's a few books, quite a few books by Brene Brown, and she talks about being wholehearted, and that's what comes across from you, Martin. Is it when you're operating, you know, you are heart-centered. You've always been that way, and ever since I've met you, anyway, I've seen that when you were doing the fitness training and so on. The passion that's there for helping people was the underlying, you know, the value that was coming out was that you wanted people to get the results that they wanted for themselves, and you would do everything to try to make that happen. So I think that's the answer to your question of an educated person. Going back to what Kelly said there as well, was that an educated person is someone who has acquired wisdom through being heart-centered, living it, not just theorizing about it, but actually manifesting it in their behavior on a day-to-day basis. Even when, this was another quote from somewhere, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was about being, when you have nothing to gain from a person and you're still being like that, then that's the true measure of your character.
Mm-hmm. I want to say yes, yes, and yes to that, right? About the true part of their character, Tony, that you touched on. That when somebody's doing something for nothing, right? And I want to go back to what Martin was saying with doing I have it written down here, but not asking anybody to do something that you haven't done yourself, right? And yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm writing lots. I'm taking a lot away from this call. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the replay, because so many gold nuggets in this call here. It's got my wheels turning for sure. Yeah. I want to say not to gain stuff from people, like do something without like the gain of, knowing that the person can never ever repay you, and say, like, I want to say finances, or maybe even time, right? Maybe you just know that they're never going to have the time or the resources to ever like give back, but you're doing it because not out of recognition or, stuff. It's just to actually do it. That's it. I'm going to end on that. Yeah. Kelly, I think Kelly was going to say something.
Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, I just get that it's like valuing you while you value you in the we. And then you show up in your self-value, your self-worth, and your connection to, if you want to call, I keep using God, but connection to abundance or source. And when you show up like that, you actually value everyone that energetically is ready to value themselves, or if they're not, they get that off you energetically, and it pulls them up into heart-centered self-equality with community. I don't know if that's all making sense, but
it makes lots of sense to me.
Yeah. And so every time you get on there, Martin, I mean, I've only seen you twice, but this is what I'm getting. You bring that. And there's an equality in that because it's heart-centered. And this is what makes us all equal.
Mm-hmm. I want to say it's like sorry, magnetic. Kelly, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, so the equality in that, actually, people out there want equality with what's going on, especially in America. Now, this is equality. This is the true potential of equality when you show up, Martin.
Wow.
Okay, and you're teaching me to show up the same. And then Tony's being taught to show up the same just by you getting on there, standing in your truth, being authentic, honest, and vulnerable. You are teaching all of us today that that's okay. That encourages me to get on and inspire myself to get on alive. I was bullied at school. I would never have shown up 3 years ago on a computer. Didn't even know how to use a computer. Avoided them like the plague. I have posted for the last, 10 days live. Yay. And from bullying at high school, I would never have even spoke in front of more than one person in a group. Like it would have been just one-on-one only. So what you're doing is what we want in equality in this world and peace and love and all that, you're doing by you creating that And every time you change one of our lives, the ripple effect of that is just all the way to the edge of the universe. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's deep. I'm honored. Thank
No,
you.
I just add something that was a great share, Kelly, and I love that line about valuing the you that's in the way. That's fantastic. What I was just thinking as you were going through that, then was it reminded me of going busking the first time I did that. I'm not now a busker, but I did do it just to test myself really for the experience with a mate when I used to run a backpackers hostel. We went out and played guitar on the street corner, and I can honestly say that it felt like I was standing naked on the street corner playing this guitar and singing. And at first, you're playing with nerves, and you're thinking everyone's going to be judging me, and then you realize most people don't give a stuff. They're not either too busy doing their own life, running past. They're not even looking at you a second glance, or they're just not thinking about what you're doing at all. And if you make a mistake, nobody gives a damn anyway. You know, you're just doing your best. And so you start off the first song or two, you're making loads of mistakes, and then you calm down and you get into the flow. And we started doing this, and we thought nobody's really taken any notice. Bugger it then, let's just play for ourselves. And we just played for the sheer enjoyment of playing. And when we started doing that, out of the blue, when we thought nobody was listening to us at all, some guy we couldn't even see was sitting at a cafe out of sight around the corner, and came around and threw a note, not just coins, threw a note into, I think it was a $20 note, into the guitar case, and said, that Beatles song you just played was awesome. It was one of my favorite songs, and you guys played it so well. And we were like, oh, we didn't think anybody was even listening. And so it reminded me of that feeling of what you were saying is about just show up and be authentic and be yourself and be in alignment with yourself. And then if your message is meant to be heard by people, people will start to pick up on it, and they will start to hear it. And it's the same with what we're doing here, is that when you're in alignment with yourself and you're sharing from the heart, the right people will hear it when they're ready to hear it. And then, it will grow, and that ripple effect of influence will just spread on out through the world.
Absolutely great share there, Tony. And that's there is a huge burning desire within me to help people and create an impact in the world. And that the big thing for me though is what I've become what I've now understand is that for me personally, and I can only speak on my own behalf, is that when I'm doing what I'm doing, even though there are people like yourselves who have kindly said about the value you've been receiving, that fills my heart. But I also know at the same time, and I'm not actually going to take that back, I'm going to say but, because that suppresses everything else. However, at the same time, it's me being my truest self, and therefore it's filling my own heart, and it's helping me grow. So I know that when I listened to Wayne Dyer a while back, he had said that I don't need the applause, I don't need the accolades. I appreciate them, I'm grateful for them, but I do it for me because it's who I am and it's what feels right for me. And that has always resonated with me. And I am so grateful, so blessed, and have so much admiration and love for yourselves, for the other people who come on the calls, because I get so much value through this. The conversations I've had over the years that I've created and I've listened to around what the weather's like and things like this, and which is fine, but at the same time, because of me becoming more connected and the conversations that we have together, even recently when I was having some work done on my car and I was in a transmission place, the guy who was sat across me, we were talking about real life things, and he came over and sat next to me because of the COVID thing. He was away, but then he came and sat next to me, and we just had deep, meaningful conversations, and he was just blown away. And in that moment, we had a very strong connection, and he lives about 4 hours south, and he said to me, when you're going traveling at the end of the year, please get in touch with me and come over to my house and meet my family. And now, if we'd just been talking about the weather or the job on the car, that would not have come about. And these are the things that to me, it's the true relationships, it's the true connection, it's the meaningful conversations, and every interaction that I feel that I'm having now, and every interaction that I've had in the past has helped me become who I am. But and it's not about me just taking over this right now, because this is for us all. Is that everything that's happening right now is continually helping me evolve, grow, become a better version, and I bring that to these calls. And I receive, so it's that law of giving and receiving. I give by creating this space for us all, and by showing up and maybe being the topic and sharing my side, but I also receive so much from each of you through you choosing to give. And that's why every person that we've had who's gone through the whole call, who maybe even show up week in, week out, they feel a sense of meaning, a sense of being, a sense of purpose, a sense of giving and receiving, because that has always been the intention of what we've created in this space. And there's only one way we can go, and that's towards our truest purpose for being here, is what I feel and understand from the whole experience. So, sense of community and connection, Kelly. Yeah, I've come to realize that we have gone fair way over the hour mark, and I do apologize for that, but I'm sure you'll all agree it's been absolutely amazing. A great call this morning.
Yeah.
I'm glad the internet held out here. So
Yeah, it's nighttime here. It's 10:18 for me. I want to say Maya's being really quiet, but something that I really took from Maya is that I'm really going to reevaluate my beliefs, right? And I think it's healthy to just kind of review that, reevaluate beliefs. Yeah, my values. What am I valuing? Mm-hmm. And I think plaques and stuff, right? Like plaques in different certificates and stuff. I have mine packed away in a box, right? So, I'm going to reevaluate
the values next week.
Mm-hmm.
If we set the topic for values next week, do we all want to come with something that we can bring to the table? I know Tony's done quite a lot around values, but shall we all come to the table and bring something around values to each share?
Yeah.
Shall we set that as an accountability task?
Can I just add that I've been on previous calls with Maya, and I know she does keep fairly quiet, but when she does speak, you want to listen, because they're always gems.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and just while you're there, Maya, how is your arm? Because you were having your cast taken off on Friday last week.
Yeah, so I got it taken off on Friday, and of course I washed my arm, and it was just so gross, because I was using the paper towel to dry it, and all my skin was just shredding off of my arm. I was like, this is disgusting. But yeah, so I have to go back in 2 weeks for them to do something else. I think take the cast off and maybe get a splint, and then in another week I start therapy. But yeah, they took it off on Friday, and then one piece of it that I'm just working with life here. So the nurse, she put the cast back on it, but this time she made it too large around my hand, so I can't get my hand through my blazer, like any of my jackets. So I've been like, one, freezing, and then two, like I feel like I don't have that extra professional piece that I normally have, but I'm not, I let it go. But yeah, I have to go back in 2 weeks to cut it off again and do some more things. But yeah, fun stuff. I've been slowing down, which is good. And I think somebody may have said something about it, or maybe just came up for me, reading slower. Like I read and I try to make sure now that I don't have my dominant hand and I'm writing with my left hand now, that I take my time and I actually have to think about what I'm writing, and it makes it a lot more intentful or purposeful. But just that slowing down piece is, I said that when I hurt my hand, that God was telling me I need to slow down. And I've been slowing down. Like patience is something that I've been coming to grips with. But yeah, it was definitely a blessing in disguise. I never looked at it negative, but all that good stuff.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad to hear it's. I'm glad to hear it's all moving forward and healing. So, yeah, great, absolutely fantastic call. And once again, thank you to each and every one of you for choosing to share this time with us all and share your own value as well. So it's been recorded, so I will post it into the group as well for, as you mentioned before, Patricia, for watching the replay. I do upload some of them onto YouTube as well on my YouTube channel for you, which is unlisted for you to watch. But share your 3 biggest takeaways in the Your Desired Success group as well. That's always a good way of reflection for self, but it also helps other people understand the value of jumping on these calls, because we're all in this community for a reason, and we can all grow and learn from each other. So share our own value and experiences. So I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Remember, this time next week, so it was about 20 minutes earlier than when you managed to jump on, Kelly. There should be a notification that will come through for you. We will cover values. So if we all bring something together, in particular, what we feel are our top 3 or 5 values, but also if there's some kind of learning system way that you've got there, that will certainly be powerful as well. And expand on why those values are your values, what feels right for you in the moment. And remember, as always, there's no judgment from anyone on this call. It's what's right for you. So thank you once again. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening, day, and I will speak to you all very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.